As the 20th century unfolded, people in Appalachia heard whispers of change, of something called rural electrification. In rural America, especially the Appalachian Mountains, only 1 in 10 families had access to power. And why was that? Well, because power companies didn't think it was profitable. Stringing miles of lines across the mountains, and for the scattered families who lived there, the electric companies didn't think it was worth the cost. So if you lived in New York, you could flip a switch. If you lived in Eastern Kentucky, you had to light a kerosene lamp. Then you had something that changed everything, and that was the Great Depression. The Depression hit, and millions were out of work. Coal prices collapsed. Politicians and engineers telling mountain families, we are going to bring you electricity, power, progress, all of these things. We're going to modernize your towns, your farms, your homes. Dams were built out of the Tennessee rivers and their tributaries. You had hydroelectric plants churning out power, and the vision was very clear. Even the most remote areas of Appalachia were going to get electricity. So, not everybody was convinced about this. There were power companies fighting the TVA very hard because they didn't want the government to step in and start regulating electricity. Some communities fought against it because they were afraid that electricity would cost too much, and were that they couldn't afford it because that was like a luxury item at that time. But for a lot of families, the promise was irresistible. Imagine being told that your wife wouldn't have to scrub laundry by hand anymore, that you could read at night without hurting your eyes, that you could cook without hauling wood or coal to heat a stove. Like, electricity was sold not just as a convenience thing, it was sold as liberation from having to do this physical labor. In the 1930s, electricity was framed as the very definition of progress. When TVA workers came through, stringing up lines, digging foundations for dams, was hope, it was change. Families sat and they watched and they waited and they watched these people put up these lines, and they waited for that moment that that switch could be flipped on.